Rich Dad Poor Dad is a book that many of you have probably heard about. It was written by Robert T. Kiyosaki as a sort of guide on how to build wealth efficiently. Particularly how to build wealth. Not how to be rich or get rich quick. Being rich means that one has acquired a large sum of wealth. But being wealthy means that that sum of money is continually growing and secure.
You're rich, but I'm wealthy.
In other words, your income exceeds your expenditure in such a way that one is able to live comfortably off of just passive income. They can now choose to work or choose to do nothing and live neutrally, right? There are some people, right? So think back to Doctor Strange. That guy who broke his leg, right? Or whatever, who freaking got paralyzed and went to go learn magic with the wizards and then came back after learning the magic and walking again. He is wealthy. Bro, why you say that? Kiyosaki puts forward 3 big principles in achieving this. He says that most people should work not to get money, but rather to get experience and knowledge. It's more valuable than any amount of money. The next principle is that people should find a way to have your money to make you money, right? And instead of working until you die, or even working so hard when in reality it's only going to achieve someone else's dreams and ambitions. In short, passive income. The next is to take good advantage of opportunities and be smart enough and resourceful enough to be able to take advantage of them and when they arise instead of letting them pass by through some fault of your own, right? So, firstly, he says that when he was working for his rich dad, who was in reality just his mentor's real dad, he was working for around 10 cents an hour. Eventually, he got fed up with this and demanded a raise, at which point the rich dad said that he would be getting no such raise and now would be working for free. Kiyosaki was first shocked by this, but then grew to understand that the unsuccessful person would focus all of their time towards getting the money. Chasing the bag! We're chasing the bag, bro. No, bro. I've been chasing the bag for 3 years straight? Got here. Chasing the bag it does not work. You can't just chase the bag, bro. You gotta chase the bank, right? Chase the whole freaking monetary institution. Anyway, so back to the topic. He then grew to understand that the unsuccessful person would focus all their time on getting the money, where the successful person would focus their time on getting the most knowledge and skill out of their employment. Because the factor of money was now removed from the workplace, and because he had no bills to focus on, seeing as he was only 9, he was now able to focus on the bigger picture, right? As to why he was working in a grocery store when all of his friends went out to play softball. He was working to improve himself and his employability, learning the skills of a worker and how to navigate the workplace. Because of this, later in life, he quit several high-paying jobs, such as the job with the Xerox Corporation, because he had learned all that he could from them. By using the principles he learned with Xerox and all of his other employers, he was able to build many large businesses and was better able to navigate human relations. Bro, he could have just read a book. Anyway, the lesson here isn't obvious to be. It's not to be a slave and work for free, but rather to recognize that the money you get should be secondary to the driving factor. Earn money, but at the same time, take a larger notice and make a point to retain more of the information and skills that you learn from your employment. They can often be more valuable and more lucrative than the job itself. They can help you start side hustles, such as this YouTube channel that I have started specifically for this reason, and can make you more money than the job itself. A job likely has a cap of how much you can realistically earn, but the skills that you can gain from a job are priceless. So take the example of the doctor, right? The doctor and freaking Logan Paul, right? You would think that Logan Paul's income logically would be down here, but no, he learned to play the game, bro. In this situation, the doctor is the sucker, right? The doctor was initially making this much. The debt pushed him down to making negative 50K, right? If he wanted to pay all of it off. He freaking lived in a van, right? Didn't do anything except work to pay the debt off. Jake Paul, right? The smooth brain that he is, realized how big Vine would be and jumped on that trend before any of you could. Right? I mean, I was 9, so it doesn't matter for me, but the doctor, right? He works for the hospital. Gets paid freaking negative $30,000 a year. But eventually, our doctor, let's go John. Dr. John now opens his own practice. With the skills he learned, right, and working at the hospital, he opens a general practice. And because he worked at a hospital, he knows more about working, right, in a medical scenario than if he had just gotten out of medical school. So he's more successful than Abe, who straight out of medical school opened his own practice. Or actually, more realistically, take the example of the doctor who works for another doctor's practice until moving on to their own, instead of the doctor who moves out of his hospital to go and open his own practice immediately. Sure, initially the doctor who moved into his own practice first will make more money, but the doctor who worked for another practice now makes hella bank, bro. Anyway, the second maxim that Kiyosaki puts forward in his book are the ideas of passive income, right? And the income expense chart. I'm going to put a picture of an income expense chart right there. That's what that is. Anyway, essentially it boils down to the quote that Warren Buffett is famously credited with. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. He says that one should have, if you can go back to the chart, it says one should have more assets than liabilities. To run it down to a very quick short summary, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket at the end of the month, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket at the end of a month. Think vending machine versus Lamborghini. Which one is the asset and which one is a liability? I'm sure you can probably tell. He says that the rich use loopholes provided by the government themselves to buy assets first, then use those assets to pay off their taxes and other payments which are due, all with the money that was supposed to be used to pay taxes in the first place, essentially using that money, which would have gone essentially to waste, right, to the government to pay itself off, and then also putting it to work, making you money for the rest of the time that you own that asset. So you've essentially used it twice. Right? The reason that poor people are not able to exploit the government loopholes, Kiyosaki says, right, is that they're ignorant of the tax codes and laws that allow them to put certain things off and avoid paying certain taxes altogether, or they just don't apply to them, so they never learn about them. Because why would they need them? They're gonna be poor forever because their dad was poor. Right? That's the freaking mindset that you cannot have. Right? In order to be wealthy, a person must buy more assets and have less liabilities to allow them to make more money from their assets than they're losing from their liabilities. Wealthy people have and buy assets first and liabilities only when they can afford to lose money on them. This isn't to say that you shouldn't buy luxuries, right? The thing that defines this part, right, is the idea that the poor person has a different mental fortitude when it comes to money than the wealthy person. The poor person has the same mental attitude as the rich person, is that money is money, and then it can be spent, or, you can be wealthy without owning a single without having a single cent in your pocket. As long as you're not spending anything, you're still wealthy, right? But you can be poor even if you're a billionaire and your expenditure is 1.1 billion every year. Right? Take, for example, the house, right? It's a classic example of an asset. It's not actually an asset. People keep thinking that. It's ridiculous. When I learned about this, I was shocked about how many people think that a house is an asset. When you buy a house, the money that you used to buy the house is now locked into the house and cannot be put anywhere else. You have to keep paying a mortgage on it, right? Classic liability. Right? General upkeep costs, so it won't really pay itself off until a long time. You'll probably be dead when the house is paid off, man. So during this time, your money could have been put into a better account. You could have been put to better use, such as investing in an index fund or buying a property fund, or even buying rental property if you can afford it. Right?
No.
Alright? The final idea that Kiyosaki presents is the idea of knowing what is and what isn't a catch, right? Or opportunity of a lifetime. And also shows us why we should learn to invest and recognize a good deal. Such as the previous example of the house not being a real great asset. The average person does not really understand what will make them money and what won't. For example, knowing what stocks to pick and what to ignore is one of the biggest problems that investors can face, and is a prime example of not being able to distinguish an asset from a liability. But for a more clear-cut example, imagine which of these will make you money: a new Ferrari or a new rental property over the span of 10 years. Obviously, the rental property, but most things in life are not so simple, right? Some of you might say, oh, the Ferrari will gain value. It will gain value over 10 years if the market is good. But the rental property will gain value anyway, unless the market crashes. It's the same situation with investing time and energy. Will it be more beneficial to go to college or start a business? For someone who wants to be a businessman, it used to be to go to college, but of course, now it's not. If someone wants to be a doctor, then it's obvious to go through university. But what we need to understand about this topic is that by wisely investing our time and effort, the more resources we will have left over to invest in other areas of life where opportunities can arise in an instant. A company just IPO'd and you think their stock price is going to rise. Sure to rise, right? A biotech firm, bionic firm, new Silicon Valley corporation, right? But you spent all of your money paying off your mortgage that you're unable to put a significant amount of money in, and of course you still do put some money in, but when the stock rises, you make some money, but nowhere near the amount that you would have had you the resources to make a significant investment. So, take Monopoly, right? That game. Why did I do that? Of course you know what freaking Monopoly is saying. One has to buy the best properties to win the game by beating all the other players. But of course, you cannot do that if you don't have the money from your other ventures. If you don't buy the right things and spend in the right places, you won't have enough money to buy groceries, much less rental property. Milk is like $1.74, man. If you spent it on a Deliveroo order, you're not gonna buy milk tomorrow, right? I don't know what it is in the city, but out here in the rural country, it's pretty cheap. The book is a must-read, of course, for anyone that is considering getting their life in order, and I suggest that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad if you want to live a good life and add value to society rather than continuing your life as a freaking leech, alright? Oh yeah, one more thing. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment what videos or books you want me to read and summarize. Remember to read, boys. Love you. Bye.